So, what Electives does is we are bringing some of the world's most unforgettable people, which sometimes might be just, somebody who is not known right now, but they have lived an experience of being an amazing leader or being someone who is a diverse part of a diverse population or a minority population who has experienced life in a different way than maybe you or me.
Welcome to the Entail AI podcast. Discussions with marketing executives sharing their latest techniques for growing their businesses online.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Entail podcast, where we interview marketing leaders from B2C and B2B companies. And I'm very happy to have with me today Kathy Bryan from Electives. Kathy is EVP Marketing. Hi, Kathy. How are you doing?
Hello, thank you. It's great to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, thanks for joining. Very excited to talk to you about your company and about your experience. And maybe you can take a minute and just present yourself and the company that you work at.
Sure, thank you. So, as you mentioned, I lead the marketing at Electives. I've got a career of marketing across B2B and B2C. Really have embraced the organic content side of marketing recently,
Mhm.
where my career started more in the paid space, but turns out it's really fun when you have to earn it instead of buy it. Electives is an ed tech company that is making live learning accessible for lean people teams. So, folks really appreciate live learning more than asynchronous learning, where they're not getting to talk to the instructors. And what's great about electives is we are bringing people like astronauts and professors from top schools and college coaches and
Mhm.
athletes live to employees at companies, and it doesn't take a lot of effort from the people team.
That sounds very interesting. I mean, so can you explain a bit more about how that works? So how is it different than regular learning?
Sure. So a lot of learning nowadays is just pre-recorded asynchronous learning.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's micro learning where it's maybe a minute or 5 minutes of learning, but it's all something that's been canned up a long time ago. So what Electives does is we are bringing some of the world's most unforgettable people, which sometimes might be just somebody who has is not known right now, but they have lived an experience of being an amazing leader or being someone who is a diverse
Mhm.
part of a diverse population or a minority population who has experienced life in a different way than maybe you or me. Sometimes it is college professors. Sometimes it is Olympic athletes and Olympic coaches,
Mhm.
people who have these amazing experiences. We're bringing them right to the employees so that they can learn from them, but also engage with them and be inspired by them.
So if I understand correctly, it's, let's say it's an organization. So if my organization were to create kind of like a learning experience or to educate the employees, then what Electives does is it brings in those incredible people that our employees can learn from.
Exactly. And it is live. It's live via Zoom, but
Mhm.
there's great engagement. And it also has that accessibility of if not everybody's in the office, they all have that same opportunity to learn from them. We also have electives membership,
Mhm.
which is an opportunity for individuals from a company to subscribe and have the opportunity to learn alongside their peers from other companies,
Mhm.
still with these amazing instructors that are just great at teaching the topics they're teaching, but they also have these really unique lived experiences that they're bringing to each of those classes.
Wow. So that's pretty unique, I think. No, I've never heard of any other company that does that. Um, yeah, right.
You're exactly right. It was launched in 2020, and it was launched because the two founders, they met at MIT, and they were at this session where they learned from a mountaineer. He was teaching about leadership and how good leadership could literally be the difference between life and death
Yeah.
when you're at the top of a mountain. And they were riveted. And then they were like, why is corporate training not like this? Why is corporate training really boring
Hmm.
when there's all these amazing people we could be learning from? And that was the inspiration. And so
Wow.
in 2020, Electives was founded, and it is still something that is unique to the marketplace and is very cool and super impactful.
So the people, I mean, those I don't know what you call them, experts or unique people, like people with unique experiences. So they work with electives regularly. I mean, if it's a is it a one off when they come and they educate or they teach an organization, or do they work with you regularly and they just moving from one organization to the other?
It's a great question. They are all independent contractors, so they work with us as often as the demand for what they're teaching requires them to work for us. So some people are teaching from us, back to back one day after another. Sometimes if it's a more unique topic, then they're going to be teaching a little bit less often.
Hmm.
But we've got topics that cover everything from financial planning to emotional intelligence to communication skills and so on. So really a lot of niche and a lot of really important topics with people who sometimes specialize in a specific
Hmm.
topic, and they come and teach when there's the
So
request.
these are quite unique people. I mean, it's not a marketplace like Fiverr, I'd say, right? I mean, so it's
Yeah.
intriguing how you get those people into your platform.
Yeah, there's a lot of recruitment that comes with it. So we're constantly looking for recommendations, and we're constantly out there seeking people who are just interesting people who are sharing great content in a number of ways. And then we have conversations with those folks to learn about them, to learn what they know, what their teaching experience is, what their unique experiences are, and then the folks who move forward with us, they teach a pilot class, which allows us to understand, are they really good at teaching this? Do they create a really engaging experience?
Mhm.
And the people who do teach a really great who do provide that really engaging teaching experience, that really engaging learning experience, they get onto our platform, which the Electives website is a place where you can see a lot of the interesting instructors that are part of the platform and all of their different backgrounds.
Nice. And so your target audience, I mean, in terms of customers, is corporate, mostly corporate, like large companies.
Yes, it's going to be more the smaller companies, because what we find is that lean people teams.
Mm.
So typically for more that smaller to more small mid-sized company,
Mhm.
those are going to be the ones where they just don't have the bandwidth to find live learning on
Mhm.
their own. Sometimes they're trying to teach this. Maybe it's one person who is leading an L&D department who's trying to teach all of the topics, and it's just too much. It takes a long time
Mhm.
for them to be able to come up with the content. And then they're just teaching it from their experience. So we've got all of this that's immediately
Mhm.
there available to them. So typically we find ourselves working with the head of a people team at a growing company that is really like a people focused company that
Mhm.
wants to make sure they're engaging and developing their employees.
Okay, that's I mean, I'm not very familiar with that part. I mean, our company we don't have that yet, so but this could be an idea. And so, how do you reach these people? I mean, do you rely mostly on marketing, or is it more like sales and SDR driven?
It is a combination. As I was mentioning, I'm very passionate about organic and earned media.
Mhm.
So our blog is really robust. We try to answer questions that people are asking, like what are the manager skills that are most needed right now? What are the qualities of a leader?
Mhm.
So we're trying to be a thought leader to be helping folks in the on the people team or leaders throughout the company just even understand what should they be offering to their people, what should they be expecting from their people, what can they what can they expect their people
Hmm.
to be able to learn while on the job given the right tools. So we do a lot of content that brings people in from an organic standpoint, and then email and social media, and then I work very closely with the sales team to really use like an account based model to be able to connect with companies and be there to help them think through what are their learning
Hmm.
objectives and how can live learning best support those learning objectives,
Hmm.
and to make sure it aligns with their culture and their needs.
Okay. I mean, for me, it's quite interesting to learn from you, like your approach on B2B marketing in the sense where eventually, I mean, I'll give you an example of what I want to express. I mean, I was just speaking to an agency that builds websites for some of the biggest B2B companies in Israel, like Kaltura and Salesforce, not Salesforce, White Source, and a bunch of other companies. And I was asking like, why do these companies need an agency to build their websites? I mean, they're like large tech companies, etc. And he said, these are B2B companies. They're mostly sales focused, less marketing. So for them, marketing is not the main investment or the main business, and R&D is very busy with the product or with sales enablement, and they usually like the marketing things that get pushed to the back. Um, and so that's why he's working with them. So what I'm trying to understand from you is how can marketing support an organization that's focused at sales, okay, that where sales is the driver and where most of the resources go to. But as I mean, you probably would agree, without marketing, without somebody building a brand, without creating demand generation, the sales department's job would become much more difficult, because then you need to sell something new. Nobody knows you, and even if they don't know you and you want to check who you are, they're going to see basically nothing. So it's almost impossible to sell if you don't have a kind of an identity online, if you don't have even the beginning of a brand. So how do you combine these two activities, or how does, in your mind, marketing really support sales in a B2B environment like that?
Yeah, great question. And I think you hit on a lot of it just in terms of how difficult that sales process is going to be. I believe marketing always needs to be ahead of sales. Giving a very specific example, if you're going into a new market, let's say you've never sold into the food and beverages industry previously,
Hmm.
instead of sales first starting to reach out to them where there's no brand awareness, I think it's much more efficient for marketing to start building that brand awareness, ideally building a little bit of demand also, but certainly making sure that there is brand awareness before sales reaches out. So I think no matter what, sales is going to have better engagement rates and better close rates if that brand awareness is built first. Certainly, sales can go cold into a situation, and sometimes they're going to be, right time, right place, and it's going to work.
Hmm.
But if nobody is thinking about what you're selling or nobody has heard about you, it's going to be it's going to be much more challenging for sales to be able to take that conversation where they need it to go,
Hmm.
because so much of that work of building the awareness, creating the demand, understanding who should be in my consideration set hasn't happened yet. So sales is going to have a harder process, and it's probably a much longer process for sales
Hmm.
without marketing doing the work ahead of them.
Yeah. So I mean, I agree, and I think that that's really the point. So I just want to know, so do you think that besides just building the brand awareness and getting on people's radar, besides that, can marketing in a B2B environment where you're selling probably like larger ticket items, or services, can marketing still generate demand, or is it I mean, can you get leads coming in to request demo? I mean, through organic, or is it through paid, or what channels do you use for that?
Yeah, I mean, you absolutely can. And I think if you're using both paid and organic, you're probably going to have a higher quantity of leads. You certainly should have a higher quantity of leads. Typically, what I find is that paid is going to be your faster route to creating demand, to creating the inbound flow of leads, but organic is going to be your higher quality. It takes a little bit longer to start building up
Mhm.
that flow of inbound leads, but those are people who have learned about you and they have more of that true intent versus the folks where you just got them and they're like, yeah, sure, I'll try to learn more, but they're
Mhm.
not necessarily as ready to buy as the folks who've
Yeah.
been part of your organic journey.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I often say that to clients or to prospects. I say that if organic is a huge ship, okay, it can carry a lot of weight. It's almost like an aircraft carrier. You know, it can carry a lot of weight and it can transfer. It can bring in a lot of customers, okay, or a lot of traffic to your website. But it's very difficult. It's not flexible. It can't take like tight turns, okay. It's very slow in terms of how it moves, and paid is more like a speedboat. So if you're at the
Yep.
beginning of your journey, or if you're as a marketer or as a company, or if you want to test something new out, then organic is probably not the best way to test that. So use paid channels to test, to identify your target audience, to see who you can convert, what kind of intent you need to target, and so on. And once you know that, once you've established that, then you can use organic. And I also agree with what you mentioned. It's kind of like organic is more like a pull, where paid is more push. And pull
Yep.
is probably nicer in general. You know, in life, it's like you create the kind of a demand, and making people aware of you, and feel you create a situation where you're more relatable. And you just pull people in who are interested in what you have to what you're providing, right? um, Having said that, when I'm looking at most of the clients that we work with, where I have access to their data, most of them, I mean, we do help them with organic and to generate organic demand. But for most of them, the organic demand that they're generating is brand, which is great. You know, if you generate branded traffic, you're doing a great job at marketing. I think brand is really the you know, is the dream for everyone. That's like the best type of traffic you can achieve is a brand, because people are searching for you. So it's kind of like it represents everything kind of like together, okay, like a combination of all your marketing activities in a way. But besides brand, paid is often bigger than organic in terms of the number of leads it generates. So I mean, I'm curious to know your experience and what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think what happens is that paid is just simply easier. And so when people need more, they want more now and they go the easy route. Um, when people think about how do I get people who are searching on these keywords to want to buy, it's really easy to buy those keywords, send them to a landing page, and voila, you've got those leads. So I think that's why you see that. Um, Certainly you can do the exact same thing with organic, but to your point, it is more like that freight carrier that is harder to steer. So just creating one blog post for that keyword, it's not going to rank right away where
Mhm.
you can buy the first place spot in a search campaign and rank right away. So you've just got to create that right balance, knowing that the organic is going to take longer, but it's going to give you that higher quality. The other thing is when you stop paying, the paid turns
Yeah,
off, but the organic lives on. So once it starts working for you, it keeps working. And as long as you continue to add fuel to your organic efforts, it will accelerate once it gets
yeah,
started.
I agree, and it's also very true. You know, when you look at companies that are just, I call them like PPC companies, so companies that focus entirely on paid campaigns. You see that with affiliate companies often. If you see many companies in the comparison space, building top 10 pages, sending paid traffic to them. And there's many companies like that. They're making quite a lot of money, but what you can see is that they create no brand awareness, no branded searches at all, and they advertise a lot, a lot. Whereas companies that or individuals even that create a lot of content, like you say, they can build a brand. And over time, I think it beats paid. Even though with paid you can make a lot of money, you can become very efficient, you can become the world champion at paid, and it's definitely a great, like, there's many great channels in paid marketing. But eventually, the companies that manage to really succeed at organic, it's even if I can't measure how many sales they're getting, it's an indication that they're very successful, because it's very rare to see a company that does organic very well and it's not successful, you know.
Yes.
Yeah, so I see that quite often as well. um, but I can tell you that we're helping companies build their organic marketing, and I can tell you from what I see, from where I stand, most companies, because it's so challenging, they don't really succeed at this. I mean, from where I stand, what I say is that they find it difficult to even create content at scale or consistently. Often, what you see is companies, they start doing a blog because they think they should, and then after a while they stop because they can't really reach a point where they convert anything, so they drop it.
Mhm.
Um, but I think now it's even more interesting because there's so much attention on social media, and you can create a lot of content for social media. So I'm wondering, what's your approach on that? Like, how would you distribute your efforts, or how do you distribute your efforts between organic on Google, SEO and content on Google, like text content mostly, as opposed to content on social media, which is probably more and more video? I mean, are you active in those spaces?
We are active in social. LinkedIn, because it's a B2B company,
Mhm.
is our top social channel. But I personally find organic content to be a little bit easier to control, a little bit easier to leverage for long-term gains, where social media, I think you can spend a lot of effort in social media, you can grow your audience, but that the algorithms of social media determine whether or not something is going to get in front of somebody. Something can be really, really popular, really impactful today, and a week from now, nobody ever sees that again.
Mhm.
So I find it to be, I think social is really important. I think it can be really valuable, but I typically am using it more to build brand awareness or to drive into my website. I don't find it to be as strong, and I'm talking organic social media here. I don't find it to be as strong for lead generation. If you get into paid social, that's totally a different situation. But then it's really the same game as like a paid search versus
Mhm.
organic search at that point. That it can be really powerful at creating at generating leads, but you're paying for each of them, and the quality is going to vary.
Yeah. So you're saying that basically, on SEO you can create evergreen content that can generate, that where you can build kind of like equity like with SEO, where it can generate traffic over time. And social media is almost like news in a way, where you can catch, you can ride on a specific trend or something. You can get some eyeballs, but it's more difficult to build something consistent or long term, because it's almost like paid. You need to create content all the time. When you stop, it dies. It doesn't keep on living in a way, right?
Yeah, you're exactly right. I think one of the best things that I did in my mind was to start thinking of each blog post as an asset. It's not just the post that I publish today, but it is an asset that will continue to be with me and pay off for a long time.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that approach. And yeah, evergreen content, I think, is one of the most impactful and valuable in terms of ROI as well. Yeah. um,
Totally agree.
yeah, so thank you very much, Kathy. I mean, we're almost out of time. So it's been great speaking to you. Maybe we can carry on this conversation at a different opportunity. Definitely learned a lot. So thanks a lot for joining.
And thank you. It's been great to be here with you.